The drugs war. Not going very well, really, is it? But should we be fighting it in the first place? Paul McKeever, leader of the Freedom Party and the man with the finest beard in southern Ontario. You're running a lot of candidates in the Ontario election?
Yes, indeed. We're running enough to form the next government of Ontario.
We'll move on. Now, Freedom Party, Libertarian?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I would say libertarians are sort of a scraggly bunch of anti-government protesters. Freedom Party is a government, wants a government that is rational, that defends every person's life, liberty, and property better.
Right. But you would be inspired by Hayek, Ayn Rand, Friedman...
Rand, yes. Hayek,
Kropotkin, Bakunin...
No. Definitely not.
All right.
Those are the anarchists. So we are anti-anarchist, if you will. And
it gets very complicated, doesn't it? It really
does, but it's actually, I mean, it's just pretty much common sense. We want a government that makes sure that people do a better job in government of defending life, liberty, and property.
Tell me common sense about drugs, because there are levels of drugs. I mean, yeah. I think only an extremist would think that someone who smokes cannabis every now and again is a terrible harm on society, but we have laws about it. But there are hard drugs that do substantial damage. But I don't know, maybe I've got this all wrong. Should we be fighting any war on drugs? Should all drugs should be legalized? What is your policy? What are your views?
Well, of course, first of all, we don't legalize any drug. We legalize the behaviors around them. So we prohibit, for example, possession or trade and that kind of thing. And you can't simply make a across-the-board statement legalize. It's just, first of all, you're not legalizing, you're prohibiting. But the wise thing to do is to sort of take something along the lines of alcohol or tobacco and use that as a model. So people can abuse tobacco, they can abuse alcohol, and if they're adults, that's going to be a personal problem. But children shouldn't have access, so the law has to remain in place to make sure that they don't have access to anything that they can't make. I mean, children can't consent. And the issue with government is, can the person consent to what's happening? A child can't. A minor shouldn't be having any access to that.
I mean, that's self-evident. But by the way, tobacco and alcohol, I mean, alcohol is not physically abusive if used in moderation. It can actually be helpful, red wine and so on.
Right.
Tobacco is not helpful, and even minor use of tobacco is possibly a problem to the body. But drugs, I mean, we had someone just last week, an expert, who said, well, actually, some of the drugs are not damaging if used moderately to the body. Yeah,
and it's always a case-by-case issue. Cannabis is one that I think the courts are now recognizing. For example, in Ontario and throughout Canada, cannabis has been legal since 2000 for medicinal use.
Yeah.
It's now, just in the past few months, been rendered by the court also to be legal for non-medicinal use, but that decision is being evaluated.
A lot of medical controversy about this. There are many who say that when you try and replicate the ingredients of cannabis to take as a pill to try and ease pain, it doesn't work. It's the high that helps with the pain. It's not the actual chemicals within cannabis. So
I can't say I'm an expert on the effects or even that drug in particular, but I can say that good public policy is one that should follow the model I think that we have with alcohol. That is, children don't access it.
So any adult can use cannabis, can sell cannabis?
Well, again, I think you have to make sure that if you're selling it, you have to be a reputable person that's selling the actual product sold. Yeah. You can't be having, I mean, you don't buy whiskey off a guy at the corner. You buy it at a store from a company.
I mean, come on, you believe in freedom. You believe that we should be able to sell alcohol from a corner store.
Yeah, but again, we apply all kinds of rules to make sure that the consumer knows what he's consuming is actually what he thinks he's consuming.
Do you think society would be better off if there was increased cannabis use? I mean, you may argue that if there were no laws against, it wouldn't actually increase usage. But, you know, I had kind of a fine conversation over a beer with someone. Yeah. If someone is smoking a joint, they start telling me how great socialism will be and Pink Floyd, man. I mean, they're just utter bores.
Yeah.
Surely you don't want society becoming so impotent and pathetic as that.
No, I mean, I don't use cannabis, and I don't drink during the day and that kind of thing. I do have a drink at night.
Yeah.
And I think that the social use of a drug that's relatively safe, like alcohol, when used in moderation, cannabis, when used in moderation, I don't think we're looking at a societal harm. What I don't want to see is anybody, whether they're using cannabis or alcohol or anything else, getting behind the wheel of a car. I don't want to see them operating any heavy equipment. I think that's why I say alcohol, the laws around alcohol.
You're being annoyingly moderate now. So let's move on. And look, I believe vast majority of Canadians would agree someone who is using cannabis in their own home, or I mean, whatever.
Sure.
You know, we all know it goes, and it's really not a big deal. There are far bigger issues to deal with. What about crack cocaine itself, morphine and various related drugs? Yeah. We know the addictive aspect of them. Should the use of those be criminalized?
Well, right now they're not criminalized. For example, we use all kinds of opiates, doctors prescribe.
Now,
them
you
all
know
the
what
time.
I mean.
No, I'll get to the point.
Recreational use.
Yeah, recreational use. Again, if the person is a person of sound mind and an adult, that person should be able to buy an opiate is different. There are other drugs, though.
Crack cocaine. Should someone be able to buy?
Absolutely not. I think there are some drugs, as I say, that by their very nature are designed to get a person into a state where they can't make decisions for themselves, where they can't consent. I think those drugs are dangerous. I think they undermine freedom in society, and I think that they're essentially poisons that don't allow a person to get to the point of choice.
So crack cocaine illegal.
Absolutely. If it's being sold to people as something to put into your body, I think that that's a real mistake, especially because we know who the targets of this are. The targets of crack cocaine are usually children. And so they hope to get them hooked on something like this so that these people will start working for them, so they'll start selling the crack to other people. And the other thing about all of this, the side issue here is that when we make these things that are more legitimate, that are less harmful, that are not immediately addictive like crack cocaine, but if we take things like cannabis, for example, even those, there's a horrible effect of prohibition because children will be used. I'm a lawyer, and I have people coming into my office from time to time. One fellow came in and told me that his son had a gym bag in the bedroom.
Yeah.
The son is about 11 years old. 11 is a key age because at 12, he's subject to the criminal law. So we have people out there, because cannabis is still illegal, trying to find ways of delivering it without getting caught. They use children to deliver the cannabis to the customers.
That's bad parenting, my friend.
Well,
any parent who doesn't have a relationship with an 11-year-old to the point where that child would know it was wrong, that's the parent to blame.
I agree. There has to be better moral upbringing, but it's going to happen even to the best of parents.
Very quickly, the Prince of Pop, what was his name, Mark Emery?
Mark Emery.
Look, I don't want the guy to suffer in particular, but there are people dying of starvation. There are people who can't find a home to live in. And we had all of these cannabis types and libertarians saying, we've got to save him. Why? He brought it on himself.
Well, I think the case there is he wasn't even selling cannabis. He was selling seeds through Canada Post. Canada Post is doing the delivery. I think it's highly symbolic. I think that's why his cause, or he in particular, gets so much attention. I mean, there are many people, many pot protesters. He got a lot of attention because he was so outrageous. Absolutely.
He sought it and he got it.
He sought it and he got it. He said, we want to change a law, you have to break a law. Do I think he should have been extradited to the U.S.? No, I think that was political. That's Canadian politics. But I think he's brought this cause to the fore, and it looks like the law is changing in respect of cannabis. Anyway.
I was hoping you were going to be more outrageous and extreme. You make a lot of sense. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.